Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Green Room Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Colin Mitchell. Colin, our second podcast under the Republic of Football
Mhm.
umbrella, but we're not going to be talking a ton of football today, are we?
No, it's big things happened last night in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Let me tell you, North Texas. That was probably one of the best games I've ever seen. North Texas beats Oklahoma State, 65-59 at OSU to go to the semifinals of the NIT
Mhm.
tournament in Vegas. What are your thoughts, Bruni? First reaction after it happened.
I mean, during the game, Colin, let's talk about during the game, how crazy that was.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
North Texas from the start, I don't remember the exact score, but going through it, I mean, they led by like 6 or 7 for a majority of the first half. They go to halftime up 24-17. Their defense was outstanding,
Mhm.
otherworldly. I mean, Oklahoma State had no clue what to do. I mean, I said coming into the game that they have Musa Cisse, 7'1" center, very, very capable player. They have Caleb Asbury, guard, transfer in, very capable player. Um, and they had athletes. But none of that seemed to matter because North Texas was just outstanding defensively, man. It was a masterclass. It was a masterpiece. It was everything that this program and this team stand for is just fighting and giving them hell. So that was great. Second half, Oklahoma State makes their run. You know, we knew
Yep.
they would. They come back. I think they tied the game. They go back and forth to the end, and North Texas offense kind of stagnates. But when you have Tyler Perry, when you have the great players like Tyler Perry and Javion Hamlet, and your offense stagnates, it doesn't really matter because they just find ways to make shots. And yeah, we'll get into all the specifics, but during the game, I was going crazy. And every
Yeah.
and one, every three, every stop, it was it was an awesome performance, an awesome win.
We've been talking about how this team hit a different gear defensively to close out the season.
Yeah.
I feel like this team has hit another gear after last night because, like you said, the physicality that North Texas brought. Because Oklahoma State before the game, you said to me, you go, these guys look big. And that's a concern, right? Because North Texas isn't the tallest team
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination. And they went toe to toe. They out rebounded him in the first half. Offensive rebounds in the second champ points in the first half were insane. I think that was the most impressive thing to me. Obviously, it starts to wear you down in the second half. And when Cisse goes off, who doesn't normally score any points, starts to score points, it's a little rough. But like guys like Mulai Sissoko, 12 points, 15 rebounds. Like, where did that come from? Aaron Scott just making play after play after play. Like, those are huge things that we've seen, but we've not seen for the whole entire game where just play after play is being made.
Sissoko and Aaron might be the MVPs. And I know Tyler Perry put up 23 points, and he was the reason they scored any points late in the game. And he hit those threes, and nobody was more excited for those threes than I was. Let me
Yeah.
tell you. But Sissoko getting 8 offensive boards, 7 defensive boards, and Aaron Scott, even though he only had 3 rebounds, it was like he was everywhere. He's like trying to compare him to somebody. He just throws his body around everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's he's fearless, and it's that him and Mulai, sorry, kind of embody what this team is. And my concern was, I think I said it last podcast, was like I said they needed a boo in this game specifically. Sissoko is just he. How do I word this? Because Abu is clearly more skilled, right?
Yeah.
No one's taking that away from him. I think from a footwork standpoint, from a post standpoint, he's probably I guess, smarter, more capable defender in that regard. But Sissoko is just stronger, more athletic. I mean, jumps higher, better athlete. And that's kind of what they needed in this game. They
Mm-hmm.
needed that type of guy to go toe to toe with a guy like Cisse and bang with him. Not saying Abu couldn't have done it, but I mean, I thought this was a great matchup for Sissoko
I
and
completely
Scott.
agree. And for him to almost kind of jumpstart North Texas at the start as well, because he scored the first point, and then I forgot, I think it was an offensive rebound. He got that board and then hit that guy with a post move. Don't remember who it was.
Mhm.
Post move. hook, and it was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then you mentioned Aaron Scott being everywhere, 3 blocks
Yeah.
and big blocks as well.
2 of 3 from 3 for A. Scott as well. Man, he's become an awesome player. Just
He really
an
has.
awesome player. That was a great job recruiting him and getting him over here in that class. So Tyler Perry ends the game only 7 of 21, but none of that will matter. This game, it's like you go back and look at some of those like old Javion games, and you're like, all right, Javion maybe wasn't the most efficient at times, but he closed the games and he would make those shots that mattered, and he won the game for you. That's what this Tyler game was.
Yep.
The last podcast I went back and watched it a little bit. Is like I stand by everything I said. Or we said rather. I think you echoed it as well. Was this team needed something to hold on to, right? This team needed, that postseason moment, that postseason breakthrough. Let's say, because Tyler has had all the regular season moments you can ask for, right? We can go back to his, last year. We can go to this year. All the moments. He's a great player, Conference USA Player of the Year. All of that is warranted. But what he didn't have that Javion did have was the postseason breakthrough, the
Yep.
postseason moments that stick with us. Now, this game will stick with us.
Yep.
We'll be like when thinking about Tyler Perry, we'll be like, man, Tyler Perry beat Oklahoma State, and it won't even matter that he wasn't the most efficient, but he hit that three, and was it Cisse's eye? Like he was
Yeah.
hitting threes from 30 feet
The
away.
crazy like getting falled on and
Yeah,
one.
and
Like
one.
it's like it's funny because you bring up Javion. Javion and him obviously have completely different games. Javion would hit threes in big moments, and Tyler in big moments somehow gets penetration, makes and ones. So
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I mean, there was a stretch, and then in overtime when it completely went ISO ball, and it was just give Tyler the ball, and just dribble in and shoot a 30-footer and hope it goes in. And well, it did. One of them went in late in the game, and you're just like, all right, this is they're gonna do this. And I was hesitant. I wasn't sure. I was cautiously optimistic early in the game, but when Tyler hit that shot and like talking all that shit, and you're just like, okay, they
Yeah.
got this. Like that's what this team embodies, is what Sissoko did, what Aaron did, what Tyler did. I think even though Ruben didn't play a great game, I mean, played 38 minutes, Kai Huntsberry 40 minutes. As a team, what they shoot 35% from the field and beat a Big 12 team.
Yep.
Like, let that sink in. They beat a Big 12 team, not on a special shooting night, not doing anything out of the ordinary. They shot 35% and beat, in my opinion, a team that is, could have made the tournament and is probably the 7th best team in the Big 12.
Yeah. And not only that, they were the overall 1 seed, 43rd in the
Yeah.
net. Like this is where you wanted to come prove that you were. And I said it last night. It's like this is the North Texas. I should have been March Madness revenge tour because right if they play like they did last night, they win a game in March Madness. I think, and that's probably the most impressive thing to me is that it was a Big 12 team. It's not like a pushover. There's no pushover Big 12 teams. You hold Oklahoma State to 18% from 3.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. That's and the fact that they were able to rise up and do that with everything that's happening around the team. Obviously we talked about Grant, but also you don't have Abu there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, moving to a conference, everything.
Playing on the road.
Playing on the road.
Want to give a shout out to Jada Martinez and Matthew Stone. I thought they played some good minutes. It's interesting, Tyree Edey only 5 minutes, which I think was the right
I think he had an
move.
injury. He had a wrap on his right hand.
Okay.
But I wasn't sure if that was because of anything. Obviously,
Okay. I'm not
I don't
sure.
talk to the
I'm
team
not
anymore.
sure.
So
I mean, but what did we say coming into the year? We said Tyler, Ruben, and Kai as your 3 guards. Like
yeah,
that was gonna have to be the trio that won you the games, and it was ultimately. I think not only did this prove, like you said, this was like, oh, we should have been in March Madness. They could have won a game in March Madness. I still look at FAU, and again, North Texas had its opportunity. You beat UAB, you beat FAU, you're in the tournament. Cool. I still look at what FAU is doing and how FAU beat Memphis, and I'm like, North Texas could have beat Memphis. Like
yeah,
North Texas could have beaten the Sweet 16. North Texas. I've watched a lot of these games. North Texas is no longer. It's no longer like North Texas is a good mid major. They are a good basketball team,
Yeah.
bar none. Top 40 team in the country, bar none.
Yep.
Top 40 team in the country for the first time ever. This is I we've been hesitant to say, is this team as good as the team that beat Purdue? Is this team as good as the 2020 team, so on and so forth? I think this might be the best team ever.
Yeah. And I was thinking
Like
that same thing the other night as well. It's like, how does this team match up compared to that 2021 team or 2020 team? And I feel like they do everything defensively better, and they match up against teams like Oklahoma State better.
that's the thing because last year's defense we talked about. Last year's defense was awesome. It was top 20 in the country. This year's defense is just as good, but they are significantly better offensively.
Yep.
And you pair those two things together, like it might be the best team ever. And now they're going to have a chance to go to Vegas, play Wisconsin, who is not as good as Oklahoma State, but you play Wisconsin. And if they can win 2 games, Colin, we're looking at NIT champs.
How important is an not important? What is the significance of an NIT banner compared to everything else they've won under Grant?
I think it would be massive.
Like
It would
rank
come.
it,
It would
rank
be
it.
right next to. It would be right next to beating Purdue, for me.
You don't think an NIT championship ranks above winning
Well,
an
I
NIT
don't know
championship?
about. I don't even if you don't even get to the semantics. If you just look at it as far as it's in the rafters,
Right.
you have round of 32 NCAA tournament. You have NIT champs not back to back years, but two and 3
That's true.
years.
Yeah, that's true.
Like 2021, round of 32, 2023 NIT champs. Like it just shows you what that era was. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they have conference championship banners for 2020 and 2020, like the regular season ones
Yeah.
as well. Like you have banners at that point of 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. 4 straight years of hanging banners. Because what I say last podcast, they haven't hung a banner this year. That
Yep.
was our problem. They didn't win a conference regular season. They didn't win the tournament. Where are they going to leave their mark? They can hang a banner
Yep.
at the NIT, man. And you were texting me. You went through the past champions of the NIT.
Yeah, I just brought him up
Go
actually to
ahead.
make this point. We keep talking about the significance of this. This isn't a CBI. Teams that win the NIT are, like you said, North Texas is now a good basketball team, not just a good mid major. Xavier, who's a 3 seed in the tournament this year, won last year. Memphis, who we already talked about,
Yeah.
won in 2021. They didn't play in 2020. Texas 2019 beat Lipscomb. I'm going through the last 5 years. 2018 Penn State, 2017 TCU. Those are basketball teams, and to be within the company of teams like that. I mean, you can go further down the list, Baylor, Dayton, Penn State again, West Virginia. Like these are teams.
Yeah.
Like these are blue chip teams, some of them. And when you're within that company, not only does it elevate your current standing in terms of recruiting and where you are as a team, but it elevates the name North Texas, right? You put North Texas with that, people go, okay, that's a basketball school.
Yes.
We play basketball here. And I think moving into the AAC and with everything that's going around the team right now, that is one of the most important things that this team could accomplish at the end of this year.
The other semifinal or quarterfinals are played tonight. It's UAB Vanderbilt, which is going to be an awesome game. UAB Vanderbilt and then Cincinnati Utah Valley. In theory, we could have a Final Four in the NIT with North Texas, Wisconsin, Vanderbilt, Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Like that could be the Final Four there. If North Texas can beat Wisconsin, we're looking at, to me, of all 4 of these teams, UAB, Vanderbilt.
He's holding the phone up to the screen
for
right
the audio
now.
listeners, holding up all the teams. Of all the teams left, UAB is the only one I'm scared of.
Isn't that weird though?
I mean, I've watched Vanderbilt a lot. I think Vanderbilt's
Yeah.
pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, Vanderbilt could beat UAB tonight. I make no mistake about it. But like, UAB is the one I'm scared of here because they have that guard that can break you down
Mm-hmm.
in a way that most teams can't. Like Oklahoma State couldn't break them down in that way, right? You look at like FAU has guards that can break them down to a degree. It's going to be really interesting to see if UAB doesn't make it to the championship game and North Texas wins it. I'm going to feel pretty good about North Texas against whoever they play. Like even if it's UAB, I want it. I want the rubber match.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I know North Texas technically is up 2-1, but Walker didn't play the first time they played. The second game went to double overtime, and then UAB beat him in the postseason. I
yep.
need that rubber match. I need it.
Man, wouldn't that just be a storybook ending for the season, huh? Meet him in
Yeah.
the NIT championship. That'd be
UAB versus North
crazy.
Texas in the NIT
That'd
in
be
Vegas.
crazy. That would be absolutely crazy.
That'd be nuts. But yeah, great win. They've done it. They've given us something to hold on to this year,
Yep.
and that's all we can ask for. Yeah, they've done it. They're going to go to Vegas. Hopefully, they can beat Wisconsin, who is, like I said, not as good as Oklahoma State. Wisconsin ranks 133rd in offense. They're 23rd in defense, so they're a good defensive team, but their offensive numbers are not good.
Yeah, and I looked up last night for anyone who cares about the net. They're in the 80th range. I couldn't remember the exact number, but it's 80 something. So
341st in tempo. So we'll have a very slow game here.
it's the over under. It's gonna be like 112.
It's something like that. Something like that. But yeah, Wisconsin's offense, they're pretty inefficient. They don't turn the ball over. That is their one strength. So we'll see if North Texas can lock them down again. I'm excited. We'll see. Maybe Abu's back for that game. If Abu does come back, I'm bringing him off the bench.
Oh yeah, I don't think you can take away what Sissoko's done.
I'm
I
not
mean,
changing nothing.
you have to keep that same thing.
Nope, not changing anything. And I don't know how much I'd play him. Like, and this isn't an indictment on him. This team is with the way they played last night.
Yeah, I don't think you can mess up something that's already going so well.
No, not changing anything. All right, let's get to the elephant in the room, Colin.
Yep. So yesterday,
Okay. All right, you're gonna introduce it.
as everyone knows, before the game, Jeff Goodman said that Texas Tech's number one target is Grant McCasland. This morning, Jeff Goodman tweets, been told that McCasland at Texas Tech could be announced shortly after North Texas finishes playing in the NIT. For all intents and purposes, Grant's gone.
Yeah.
I think that once that happens, this program couldn't be in a better spot, especially after last night.
There's a lot to unpack here, right?
Yeah.
Like we're talking about the greatest coach in North Texas history. Like we're talking about a coach that has taken this team from 2-16 my freshman year, so 2016, to now hanging 4 straight banners potentially, and potentially winning an NIT and being a top 40 program in the country. The work, like I don't think we need to completely give an obituary at the moment, but the what he's done with this program speaks for itself. Everybody who's listening to this podcast knows, everybody who has followed North Texas in any capacity knows how amazing of a job that he has done. Him and his staff. I want to give all the staff credit, Reem, B, Ross, the whole gang.
Yeah.
And I can understand a lot of times when there are coaching changes, I can understand animosity, but it doesn't feel like North Texas fans would have animosity in this situation. I think North Texas fans are smart. I think North Texas fans understand where they are, and I think they understand what Texas Tech is to a degree, like just the job that it would be.
Right.
And there are two. I don't remember who said this once, but it was some coach was like, either you're leaving. Most 90-something% of coaches either get fired or they leave on their own accord to go take another job. Like that's always inevitable. You just want it to be they leave on their own accord because that means that they did a good job.
Right.
So, who knows? In 8 years, we be talking Ross Hodge to Texas. Like that's what you want, right?
Right.
You want it to continue and just to be coach after coach after coach and build North Texas up into being the next
Houston,
Memphis, obviously, St. Mary's over there, Gonzaga over there in a perfect world, right? Like that's what you want. And
yeah,
I have a bigger picture take coming, but what are your thoughts on the
I think you hit the nail on the head. You don't want to see a coach leave for a lateral move, right? You don't want to see him move to a different team. If a coach is going to leave, you want to see him hit the pinnacle of college basketball. And Texas Tech is, if not one of the pinnacles, a pinnacle in college basketball in terms of facilities, stature, and all that. So if you want to coach leave, you want to go to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
1. 2, the program is in the best spot it's ever been, and I don't think it'd be set up any better for whoever takes over next, whether that's Ross or whoever.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's going to be a hangover period where it's like, oh, like I think North Texas is in the position to keep this thing rolling. And I think that's the most important thing. Not only for, I think, Grant, because I think Grant really, really cares about North Texas. Like, he would want that, obviously. But also the fans. Like, it's easier for the fans to stomach. It's like, yeah, we are at a great spot.
That's all it is, man. It is, you thank Grant for what he did, and you say, all right, now go win a national championship at Texas Tech.
Yep.
Like, this is, again, we want North Texas to build up to where they are on that, like, let's say, again, St. Mary's caliber. Like, I think that's a dream, right? To where you're consistently in the tournament. You're consistently competing with other top mid majors, and you're being potentially, maybe one day get into a higher, even better conference with all the conference realignment. Who knows? But him taking the job at Texas Tech, to me, and I think I've actually looked it up and looked at different people's opinions on this. It's like Texas Tech is a top 20 job in the
Oh,
country,
yeah.
comfortably. They made the national championship in 2019. Chris Beard went over there with less of a pedigree than Grant McCasland and got them to a national championship and turned them into a powerhouse. Mark Adams, I mean, he was the assistant for Beard. Now, was 2 years over there. He's gone now. What is built there is the fan support, the money. I've been told, I mean, I haven't been told this, sorry. I've read that they have like top 5 facilities in the country.
Yeah.
There is nothing about the Texas Tech job that makes me say, damn, he should have stayed.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, like, it's just not feasible. It's not fathomable. So I think as long as everybody's working under the same premise that this is a good move for Grant McCasland, I think we can move on and look at, what North Texas has to do, what, a potential hire would be, and we can look at all that stuff now, with that being said. I know that, what was it? So where I was going to go with this was that North Texas, I think, has 2 options here. Not in terms of the head coach, but how they want to approach basketball moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And they can continue doing what they're doing to where it's, obviously they care about basketball. They'll pay the basketball coach. They paid McCasland a lot of money, but ultimately, you go back to football and you try to get the most out of football. I agree. But there is a world in which you say, let's see if we can become a basketball powerhouse. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's something people have considered because it's such a football state, such a football world we live in, to where football will make the money if you are good at it. And even if you're bad at it, it makes the money. But I look at what a Gonzaga has done. I look at what like a St. Mary's has done. Memphis football is not great. You look at a lot of schools. I think Cincinnati may be another example, even though they're good at football. You want both to be good, but right now you have so much momentum with basketball and so much support with basketball. It feels like you need to dedicate a lot of funds and resources into making sure that this remains a prominent basketball school to me, because football is fickle to me. Football is fickle. You might hit some, you might lose some. Basketball, if you put resources into it and you have a good coach, you will win. Like,
Yeah.
that's
No
just
matter
how it goes.
what.
Like, at North Texas, I think that's what in a perfect world, both win. But, and I'm not saying you have to take anything away from football. You don't take anything away, but basketball right now, in my opinion, should be one of the top priorities because you have to keep this thing going.
I completely agree. I mean, not only does it raise the stature of the athletic department, but it puts the college itself on the map, right? And you already talked about football is fickle. I don't think there's a world in the near future where you can have a North Texas looking like Houston, where Houston's football team's ranked top 25 and their basketball team is ranked number 1. But I do see it, like you said, where if you continue to make this basketball thing go, you're in the AAC, you can be in Memphis. Why not? You still have the football team that, is in the AAC, but you have the team that's going to the tournament. And I think you have to kind of weigh your weigh your options in the sense that, yes, football, like you said, is king. And you've said this forever. Football is king. But at some point, if you have the opportunity that not many programs have in terms of keeping that program going and making it to where it's not just a thing under Grant, but it's a thing under whoever coaches this team,
Yeah.
I think you need to take that opportunity.
Like that's going to be one of Jared Mosley's biggest decisions. And not again, I want to repeat, he's not picking between basketball and
Right.
football. Like he's not saying, oh, okay, we're going to take from football and give to basketball. I'm not saying that. But there are a lot of programs. You look at UTSA and what UTSA, the situation they're in, it's obviously very different from a financial standpoint. They're saying, screw basketball. We're paying Jeff Traylor and we're going all in on football and trying to win this thing. Cool. That's great. North Texas at this moment has a lot more money than UTSA does and does not have to make that decision, does not have to cut anything to give to football. Football will be fine no matter what. They need to, Jared Mosley and company need to dedicate time, resources, money, attention to basketball and make sure that this program remains a prominent team, because it can be real easy to fall into what UTSA is.
Yeah.
It can be real easy to fall into, let's just throw it all on the football team. Well, what happens if the football team doesn't work out? What happens in 2 years at UTSA when Jeff Traylor leaves and UTSA maybe takes a step back, right? And they go back to being a 6-6 team, 7-5 team, and the basketball team still sucks because they didn't make any changes.
Yeah.
Then you're just irrelevant.
Not only that,
you can say what you want about basketball, and sure, it is not football. At the end of the day, though, you can build a community, you can build a following, you can build something that fans can gravitate towards with basketball. This isn't freaking a small sport. This is the second biggest sport. It is the only other sport that could generate revenue.
Right. Yeah, and you already see it right now at North Texas. Is you built the indoor practice facility, you have all these really great facilities, and what do they have to show for it recently? Not much. So you're pouring money into something, not saying, like you said, not saying it's all for naught, but it's fickle, like you said. Whereas if North Texas right now, their basketball facilities aren't that great. You have the Super Pit.
Yeah, we've been to their practice facility.
Yeah, it's the E.
The E. They don't even practice there most of the time, because they don't. Why would you at this point? It's very small.
So I completely agree with you. Where it's look at that new stadium that's in the master plan. Look at whatever you have to look at to keep this team in the top 40, top 50 year after year.
I'm looking through. I'm looking at the top 40 in Ken Palm right now on basketball, and I'm wondering to myself how many of these are football schools.
Name off a couple.
Alabama,
context, obviously.
I'm just saying football schools. Alabama, Texas football school. Let's just say not including SEC, because SEC is the SEC, and the SEC's got stupid money to where they can just pay for everything, and it doesn't matter. Outside of the SEC, I'm looking at schools that aren't football. UConn is up here, Gonzaga up here. Obviously, Purdue and the whole state of Indiana. Did you know? I think it's Indiana has the most Ken Palm subscriptions. There's actually a breakdown of that.
That's probably very
the state
true.
of Indiana has 3 of the top 4, because Purdue's in Indiana University, all that, Butler. Yeah. Anyways, Kansas, Arizona, Marquette, Creighton, St. Mary's, San Diego, Xavier, Duke, Baylor, Memphis, Kansas State, FAU, Maryland, Michigan State. You get what I'm saying here?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's there's a trend here outside of the SEC to where everybody else here is hit or miss in football, but the teams that I just named for the most part are pretty freaking consistently good at basketball.
Yeah. I mean, look at the last 5 champions of NCAA March Madness. Kansas, not a football school. Virginia, not a football school. Villanova, not a football school. North Carolina, not a football school. And then Villanova, Duke again. Baylor's in there in 2021. But outside of that, it's almost like football and basketball together is the outlier whenever you have a good basketball school.
North Texas has a chance, and this might sound crazy. This whole podcast might sound crazy. The last 10 minutes might sound crazy to people. We might get people being like, y'all are idiots. We need to put all our money in football, cut the basketball program. And that's your opinion. Cool. North Texas has a chance to be a basketball school right now. A legitimate basketball school. San Diego
Mhm.
State level basketball school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just interested. It's a theory. If they want to do it, they can do it.
It's there.
It's there. The opportunity is there. The avenue's there, and I don't think you even have to take away from football very much at all. Like again, you let football do what you're doing. Y'all have money. You got a new coach. You got the facilities. You got the master plan. Cool. At the end of the day, it's about attention. It's about effort. And I think that is something that we've seen throughout Conference USA is some teams care, some athletic departments care about basketball more than others at the mid-major level. Well, to me, most of the mid-majors that care about basketball are winning. And that is something North Texas, it's just something to weigh. It's something to weigh. That's it. That's all I'm saying is I'm not saying if this team could be VCU,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I'm just
Yep.
that's all I'm saying is that you look through the top 60 teams, 70 teams in KenPom, man. You take out the SEC, how many of them are football schools? Not many.
Yeah.
Not many at all. So, I mean, Ohio State fell off a cliff this past year. Ohio State went 16-19 in basketball. Like I'm watching, I don't know. You get my point. You get my point. So, anyways, some people will take that as like saying I don't want the football team to do well or sacrifice the football for basketball. I'm not saying that, but I am saying I think basketball is going to be important. It's going to be interesting to watch Jared Mosley navigate that over the coming years.
Yep.
All right, we're not doing any candidates, are we? We're not. I mean,
No, I think
I haven't looked
I think we wait until after it's all said and done.
Yeah, we can wait till afterwards because I haven't looked at anything. Ross Hodges is still probably the number one choice there. But we'll see. We'll get into all that afterwards. We'll see how they do against Wisconsin and go from there. All right, let's wrap this podcast up with some Dave Campbell's rankings. Okay. Now I don't know if Mike Craven did these by himself. I'm trying to read to see if he did them by himself or not, so I know who to direct this to. It says Dave Campbell's Texas football. So they looked at the top 10 best players at each position going into spring. Okay. I could send you the links. I didn't even send you the links. I'm sorry.
I'm looking it up right now. You can continue.
Okay. North Texas is not featured in all of these lists. For example, offensive linemen. They do not have one of the top 10 offensive linemen in the state, which Gabe Blair would probably be my only one that I would look at to say Gabe Blair should probably be on there. But offensive line is kind of a hard position to evaluate individually at times. So, not mad at it. I still expect them to have a good offensive line, North Texas, going into this season. Tight ends is where it gets interesting. It's the first one we'll get to.
Can you send me the link? I can't find it. I keep getting high school. Sorry.
It's okay. Let's see. Let's do this one. All right, this is the defensive line link, but you'll just click through to find the.
Yeah.
Can I text to you or Discord?
Discord.
Okay. There it is. All right, Varkey's Gums is the number 3 tight end in Texas. We kind of talked about it last podcast, but it's pretty underrated what he did last year on this team.
Really, it really is.
34 catches, 458 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Jatavian Sanders, which they call him JT Sanders on here. I didn't know he abbreviated his name, but Jatavian Sanders out of Texas had 54 catches, 613 yards, 5 touchdowns. So cool. No problem with that. Jatavian Sanders was a 5-star guy. Awesome. Donovan Green is number 2 from Texas A&M, 22 catches, 233 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Varkey's Gums damn near doubled him up in every category. But it's Texas A&M, so you do what you want with it. I'm looking at the rest of these guys. None of them had more catches than Varkey's Gums. None of them had more yards than Varkey's Gums. And I will throw out a name, Oscar Cardenas from UTSA, 31 catches, 438 yards, 2 touchdowns at number 7. Like, are we looking at Varkey's Gums as a first-team all-conference tight end? Is this the best tight end?
Your face is crazy. That was funny.
Is this the best tight end since we've covered since 2015?
I think in terms of what you want a tight end to do now, in modern football, not just block, yes. Because I can't remember a receiving tight end that North Texas has had in my memory. And he did it without an offense that was competent most of the time. If North Texas does what we think it will do with the talent on its roster on offense, we could be looking at a guy that could be up there in terms of receiving yards and touchdowns for this team. Just
I'm
based
trying
on
to
how
think.
he played last year.
I'm trying to think how much more he could even do at this point. Like
I mean, just
40,
catch the ball more, I
okay,
guess.
but 40 catches would be a ton. Like if he had 40 catches for 600 yards and 6 touchdowns, it'd
That's
be an
crazy.
awesome year.
It'd be crazy.
So that's what I'm saying is like we'll see how much they get him involved, but I feel like last year he was kind of that how do I word it? He was that guy that caught teams off guard to a degree. Like they were so worried about maybe other players, and then Varkey's Gums comes on an underneath route and then catches it and takes for 30 yards.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of felt like with Varkey's. But yeah, top 3 tight end in the state for North Texas. Let's go to receivers. Obviously, UTSA has 2 on here: Zachary Franklin and Joshua Cephas at 1 and 5. I have no problems with that. DeCorian Clark is also very, very good for them. So they have those 3-headed monster there. We get down to the list. At number 10 is Jair Shorter.
Last on the list, right?
I guess technically last, but it's a top 10, Colin.
I know, but I had to put it anyway.
It's not like it's ranking every receiver in the state.
It's last on the top 10 list.
Okay, you're right. Last in the top 10. I just said 10th. And it's funny because you look at his stats, I think they're the lowest of anybody on here. 23 catches. Oh no, Anaya Smith from A&M, who got hurt last year, had 15. But so the second least amount of catches on here. 23 catches, 628 yards, 11 touchdowns. When we start to, and again, start is a key word here. When we start to say what we want from Jair Shorter going into this season, is it just more receptions? Because last year it was boom or bust. 23 catches, 11 of them were touchdowns. 23 catches, 628 yards.
Yeah.
Like, is it just more catches for him?
I feel like Jair Shorter has always been boom or bust. And I don't necessarily think that's a negative thing with how Jair Shorter affects the game. It's not like he's not catching the ball. It's just that he's going to go on a go route, and if you hit him, he's scoring a touchdown. So I guess more catches, and if that leads to 13 touchdowns instead of 11 touchdowns, sure. I don't think Jair Shorter is going to be the guy that's catching the ball in the slot is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'm asking, I think more so people are wondering, like, can he become that I don't want to say Rico Bussey, because Rico Bussey I think was a little bit more versatile, but like a guy who could, maybe get to 40 something catches, and even if his yards per catch drop from 27, which is absurd, 27 yards per catch to like 17, would that be okay?
It would be okay, but I don't think that can happen with what I think is on this receiving core. Like Jair Shorter has his role, right? Like he's, like we just said, the boomer bust guy. He's going to score 11 touchdowns on 23 catches. You still have Tommy Bush. You still have Roderick Burns. You still have Varkey's Gums. They're going to fill the other roles that Jair Shorter doesn't necessarily have to if he's not as good in those places as those other guys. Now, if he is really good in those situations, then sure. But until that, I mean, he is what he is, and that's not a bad thing, like I said.
I just think it's interesting because, if he continues to build up hype and stuff, we'll be talking about him potentially to the NFL. I think he is going to have to show a little bit more than just being a big play receiver. The schedule will be harder this year, like we said. So maybe we'll see him in a little bit different situations to where he's not catching go balls on UTEP or, whoever else. I'm not saying that's where all his yards came from, but still, it'll be interesting to watch him against better competition. So,
yeah.
Iowa Dai is ranked the number 5 running back here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Adai is the best running back on the team.
I completely agree with that. Him being number 5 in Texas seems a little weird to me.
Over Jonathan Brooks from Texas. I mean, Deion Hankins from UTEP is at 7. None of the other names below him really stand out, but Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if you're ranking running back rooms, North Texas is probably in like the top 3 range. Like
Yeah.
literally, you could probably go like Texas, A&M, and North Texas. Probably just off the top of my head, as far as like running back rooms. I don't know about Baylor. Baylor might have a couple dudes in there as well. Regardless, and running back's one of those positions where a lot of people say like, oh, we have like every team says they have good running backs.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like from a fan perspective, every fan base is like, man, we got these running backs. They're so good. LSU is one that doesn't really have that, but still, it's like every team thinks they have good running backs and good receivers. I think that's something across the board. Fan bases are like, oh, we got good receivers and running backs. North Texas legitimately, though, should have one of the best running back rooms in the state. I just don't know if Iowa Day is the number one back, but I think he led them in most categories last year. So that's why I can't be too mad. 7.2 yards per carry.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's
That
pretty
is kind of
crazy.
crazy. I would say, yeah, I mean, I completely agree
I
with
would
you.
I'd put either Ragsdale or Attaway up here.
I think I'd put Ade over Ragsdale, but I think Attaway is the number one, just because of how much more dynamic he is overall as a back. Like, not only can he just truck you really hard, but he also has the movement in the breakaway speed to do dynamic things. So
Yeah.
but he has to stay healthy. So
Yeah.
that's the big thing going into this season.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it with Ragsdale, Attaway, Ade, Quillon Farrar, BK Jackson. The running back room has plenty of names there, so there's enough weapons for them to toy with there. We're only doing the offense today. We'll probably get the defense next time. But Chandler Rogers does not make the quarterback list, Colin. How irate are you at our partners for not putting him on the top 10 list? Let me quickly run through the top 10.
Okay.
Okay. We've done a whole podcast on Chandler Rogers. Y'all can go watch that if you want. Frank Harris, number 1. Quinn Ewers, Texas 2. Tyler Show, Texas Tech 3. Connor Wegman 4. Texas A&M 5. Preston Stone, SMU 6. Donovan Smith, Houston 7. Blake Shapen, Baylor 8. Chandler Morris, TCU 9. JT Daniels, Rice 10. Malik Hornsby, Texas State. Now Malik Hornsby is the one I have a problem with here. Okay, I've watched Malik Hornsby. He is a track athlete, 100%. Nobody's taking that away from him. He's extremely fast. He played at Arkansas last year. We clearly know he's talented. Okay. But he has done nothing to prove that he is a better quarterback than Chandler Rogers. Just none.
Yeah,
Nothing at
the
all.
1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 268 passing yards. Obviously, I'm assuming that's not starting. So
No. KJ
but
Jefferson started last year for them. He was the backup. I watched him, a few times throughout the year. I mean, I think a lot of this is projecting what he could do against the Sun Belt. But the problem is, and I don't know if it's a problem, but the problem I have is the fact that we watched Chandler Rogers in the Sun Belt play good football for 2 years.
yeah.
Malik Hornsby, we do not know if he will be good or not. Maybe he just can't throw the freaking football. Like we can run, but it's a tough. I know
Jason Bean?
everybody loved the pickup for Texas State, but like just don't skip over Chandler Rogers like that. You're saying he can be Jason Bean?
Maybe. I don't know.
He doesn't. I don't think he.
I
I gotta
don't know
see it.
nothing about him. I just threw out the name because
No,
that's the
it's a
first
good
thing.
name. He's faster than Jason Bean. Dude's insanely fast. We'll see.
Can I just appreciate that JT Daniels is playing for Rice? Can we just sit back for a second and appreciate
Georgia to West Virginia to Rice.
and he played at USC too. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah, I mean Chandler Rogers, I feel like he has to. Although I like your argument about saying he's in the Sun Belt, he at the end of the day still has to prove himself. I feel like, and if anything, do we need him to be something more than, like a top 8 quarterback next year?
What do you mean? Do we need him to be?
Because I feel like we've relied on quarterback. Like, okay, let's just do this. Where would you put Austin Aune on this list? I wouldn't put him in the top 10.
I still don't think Malik Hornsby is better than him.
Ignore that. Ignore him.
Okay, I'm putting him. I'm not putting him. I don't think I'm putting him over JT Daniels. If that's what
right. That's what I'm asking. So. What are we looking for next year? I think we're looking for Chandler Rogers to be. Although it would be great if he came in and just lit it up. Like I want him to be like a top 7, top 6 quarterback next year, just because that would mean that there's some consistency on the offensive end at quarterback, and I feel like that's all I'm really looking for. So the fact that he's off the list doesn't really bother me a whole lot because I don't really necessarily know where I'd put him anyways.
It's a good point. I think, and we maybe talked about this before, but the quarterback position is largely a product of the offense, right? And in any team, any place, any level of football, quarterback is a position that relies on being comfortable. It relies on other people doing their job. It relies on the coaches being a step ahead in a lot of situations. If Chandler Rogers gets that help from everybody around him, he is more than talented enough to make plays. The problem with Austin Aune was that he was making plays, but he was also making plays for the other team. So
yeah,
as long as Chandler Rogers doesn't do that, I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot because Eric Morris has proven to us time after time that he can help quarterbacks and put them in a good position to succeed.
Yep.
So that's where it's going to be an interesting dynamic moving forward. But yeah, that's the offense. There you go. I have a fun off-season idea for us, Colin, is we rank the top 5 at every position in our time since 2015 at North Texas.
Oh, that could be fun.
So there's an off-season. Just start thinking of off-season ideas.
I can't wait to throw in backup quarterbacks at the quarterback position. That's gonna be crazy.
Where's Quinn Shambor is the real question.
Hey, he led that one drive whenever.
Is he over Grant Gunnell? Stone Earl? That 4 or 5 spot's going to be tough.
He's over Stone Earl.
Well, don't forget, who started your freshman year?
DeMarcus Smith. Wow. Yep. Worst play I've ever seen college football. He rolled out of the pocket and ran 40 yards back and got sacked, and that was crazy. I believe that was against Marshall. It was against Marshall or Army, but that was bad. Alec Morris as well.
Actually, I think the quarterback list in North Texas is actually pretty good.
Alec Morris, I think, would be 3rd.
4th. Mason Fine. Look at us already spoiling content. Jesus.
We'll go through this one real quick because now I got to know.
Mason Fine is 1.
Yep.
Austin Aune's 2. Jason Bean is 3. Who's 4?
It's got to be Alec Morris. He almost won you a bowl game against Army. Almost.
All right, Alec Morris, 4. 5 has to be Quinn, right? Just off talent, it's probably.
Well, let me think real quick. Who's more important? Who's more important? Was Quinn or Alec Morris? I'd probably put Quinn over Alec Morris.
Oh, God.
Well, okay,
but then remember last year Stone Earl had some touchdowns in the Wildcat.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything last year, so that season does not count. The fact that we have to put Austin Aune at 2 just because he played a lot. You know what I mean? Like he didn't do anything. Just because he played a lot.
All right, there's the list. 4 is Quinn Shambor. 5 is Alec Morris.
Yep.
Top 5 quarterbacks since 2015. Let us know if we're forgetting someone. Think about all the quarterbacks that they've had since 2015.
Let's see if I can run through them real quick.
Probably 15. So we already named
2015. All quarterbacks or just starting quarterbacks?
All quarterbacks.
Josh Greer, Andrew McNulty, DeMarcus Smith, Alec Morris, Mason Fine, Quinn Shambor, Austin Aune, Jason Bean. I'll say those. It was the guy number 6, the transfer lefty.
This is the run right here. You gotta get this run of the team.
This
you want
is
me to help
crazy. Hold on, Jace Reuter, Grant Gunnell, Stone Earl.
Yeah.
What is that guy's name? Lefty, number 6.
Yep. There's a few. I'll help you. I'll help you for the sake of
Yeah.
our podcast.
Yeah.
Amani
Armani
Gilmore,
Gilmore. Yep.
Amani Gilmore, Bryce Drummond, Will Keeney,
Kason
um,
Martin.
Kason Martin, JD Head,
JD.
Grant Gunnell. How many are we at? You keep track?
I think I was at 10 and I gave up, and
We're
then
close to
you took
20.
over.
We're
It's
closing in
close
on
to 20.
Chandler Rogers now. I think that's it.
Does North Texas have the record for most quarterbacks turned into tight ends or linebackers?
a wild list.
I love how Kason Martin switched to tight end or in like special teams, and then went to go play as quarterback somewhere else.
He balled out, man. He balled out.
Shout out Kason.
But yeah, there's the list of quarterbacks. So some free content for y'all that we were gonna make into a different podcast, but Colin likes.
Well, that wasn't a top 5 list. That was just, can you name them?
Well, we did our top 5 too, so
maybe it'll change. You know, maybe I'll throw Josh Greer up there.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Stay tuned. Off-season content coming soon. Spring football is underway. We'll try to get look at maybe like getting Reed or somebody on here to talk spring football next week. We got big plans for guests coming up over the offseason, so stay tuned for that. Hope y'all enjoyed the podcast. Nice 50-minute pod. Hope y'all get through the week. You can listen to our podcast on the Republican Football Network. They said we're allowed to do some basketball, so we said, all right, we're doing basketball. I mean, they didn't really have a choice. We were doing basketball anyways.
Right.
We run our show. Damn it.
We got to swap it to a basketball podcast like we hope Jared Mosley does with the school, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We are a basketball pod. But yeah, if y'all are watching on YouTube, everything's on YouTube. You know, we'll be here still, so we appreciate the support. Follow us on Twitter at Green Room UNT. We post on there almost every day, so the follower count is ticking up slowly but surely. We appreciate the support, and yeah, we'll be back next week at some point to talk about the NIT and give you some more football season podcast stuff. So thank y'all for joining us, and we will talk to y'all later.